Hey everybody, John Seifert here. I am joined by my Acceleration Economy analyst colleagues for this special lightning strike growth swarm this week regarding some big news that just happened with Elon Musk and Twitter. You may have heard a little bit about it. I am joined in typical fashion by Bob Evans, who is the co-founder of Acceleration Economy, founder of Cloud Wars, Tony Uphoff, four-time CEO, most recently CEO of thomasnet.com, and Scott Vaughn, Chief Marketing Officer, going on 3 or 4 times of leading through organizations, massive transformations in the go-to-market side. Again, I'm John, co-founder of Acceleration Economy. So, gents, we now have Twitter owned by Elon Musk, $44 billion deal that the board just approved. Now, I was an early guy using Twitter back in the day, in the early stages of it there, when people were really using it for work stuff and sharing code and those sorts of things. Boy, has the times changed since then, right? All the political stuff and all these sorts of things that we've seen on Twitter. Now, are we in for an entirely new era? Boy, it sure seems like we might be. Bunch of ideas, bunch of thoughts. Tony, I'm gonna kick it over to you to drop us into this Mavericks size wave to kick things off for us, my friend.
Love it. And look, you'd have to be living under a rock, John, not to have heard about this. And there's been so much energy. As folks know, Musk initially bought a 9% stake in the company, appeared to be asked to join the board, then backed up. And that's when the rumors really started to swirl around that he was going to make a bid to buy it. And sure enough, it's gone through. I think a few things here. First off, if we go back through history, this isn't the first time that a crazy wealthy person has decided to buy a leading media outlet. Now, a lot of people may not think of Twitter as a media outlet, but it is certainly something that generates a tremendous amount of news. And arguably still, I think Twitter breaks a lot of news. I think what's fascinating about this, John, on so many different levels is the one thing I initially thought when he kind of raised his hand and bought that first stake, I can't think of a brand anywhere in the public sphere that has a bigger gap between its clout and its revenue than Twitter. So at face value, I'm thinking, as crazy as it sounds, if this guy could step up and get the money together and buy Twitter, you realize that you look at Facebook or Google that are 20 or 30 times the size of ad revenue to Twitter. They never built a scalable ad model. And so I guess my first reaction, John, was kind of, once I got past the holy smokes, he really did it, was, oh, there's a huge opportunity. Now, lots of ifs, buts, could you, wouldn't you? I frankly am not sure I buy the head fake on free speech and First Amendment. I don't think that's what this is about. And look, I applaud, Musk. I think he's a phenomenal character. But that's my initial reaction to it, John, when I saw that it went through.
Yeah, Tony, I love that. I love the little bit of background that you gave in leading to this point, right? With the $44 billion deal going through. Funny statement on the head fake for free speech, aspect of this thing. I will tell you, I have an 18-year-old, right? When this happened, my 18-year-old texted me and said, "Oh man, you might want to buy some Twitter stock." Right? Because this is, from his perspective, this is how he gets his news. In fact, from his perspective, he gets his news through Twitter. To your point on breaking news, he gets his analysis through YouTube. Right? That's literally how he gets his yin and yang of information diet, if you will. So that point of breaking news, well, if it's not the first time that a very wealthy person went in and bought a media company and decided, what am I going to do with this thing? Scotty Vaughn, I would love to hear some of your perspective on this.
Well, I think he bought it so he can do the infrastructure on a satellite system. It's an infrastructure play here, guys. I think you've got the lens wrong. I don't even know how this is so, I think, meaningful, because much like many markets, this needs disruption of some kind. It may be chaotic. It's certainly going to be a soap opera. It already has been. So we're seeing some real-time streaming play out in front of us. But what I like about it is it's a chance for big tech It's going to go private, so it can go inside and really do potentially not just disruptive, but transformative work and rethink what media is, what distribution is. And I tried to stay away, Tony, so I really like what you said. I'm trying to stay away from the political discourse and the divide and all the hyperbole and is Trump going to be allowed back on and the B, all Babylon B, all this stuff, and try to think about a reset in the way what's media, what's disruption, what's big tech, and what's the impact, because that is a reimagination of a business. And I think that to me holds the most promise. And that's what I'm looking forward to following and understanding and game planning.
Well, and it's, I brought up the thing about my son utilizing this as his news source, right? Because that is, that's not only my 18-year-old son, that is many people in each different generation right now who are utilizing Twitter for this stuff. And it could be on the political side, right? As it has been in some cases, but it can also just be on the, what happened at the Academy Awards when Will Smith went up and let Chris Rock have it, right? So that was the first place where all of that stuff came live and was available and those sorts of things as well. So it's not only the political stuff and those sorts of things, it's also just the how we take in information side of things. And Bob is the person who's been leading a lot of the information distribution strategy around the cloud and those sorts of things for markets around the world. Give us your take on this, please.
Sure, John. Yeah, I love what Scott and Tony were saying. I think Scott's, unique penetrating insight in marketing. I don't know that anybody else thought about Twitter being an infrastructure play for the satellite. So you heard it here first from S. Vaughn.
I heard it break news. Someone put that out, tweet that out.
Well done, Scott. Well done.
Thank you.
No, guys, there's this thing of, I don't know, it's almost like a meme of, we talk about industries as big something. I never thought of Twitter as big tech. They always seem to me like big communications or big media, something like that. But I was just astonished over the last several years, the range of stuff that's on there. Some of it interesting, for people like your son, John, as you've mentioned. It could be news. It could be, what's going on in the world. There's a lot of garbage on there, but there's a lot of garbage across all types of media. So that stuff didn't bother me. I think Twitter lost its way some for somebody like me, not 18 years old, looking at it more from a business point of view. And I think what Musk, he doesn't dabble in things to try to make them a little better than they were before. He is a remaker, reshaper, reimaginer. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do there. And I hope what he does is sort of reopen the thing. And, there'll always be the weirdness out on the fringes, but I hope he's able to rebuild the trust that a lot of people have in this as a credible, formidable, and useful, relevant communications channel. Because wow, when those things are working right, I mean, it's extraordinary how it can help. And when it gets muddied up and split and fragmented and pushed around, it's a real pain in the ass. So he's got that to do. He's got, taken private. He's going to maybe escape some governmental scrutiny that was coming down on it. But I think the most fun thing, John, is what will this guy who doesn't think like anybody else, what is he going to do with this incredible property?
And it makes you take a little pause, right? Because when social media was new in the Web 2 world, right? When social media was brand new, Twitter came on like a freight train, baby, right? It started in tech and then moved really swiftly across so many different things. In today's world, which is sort of moving from Web 2 to Web 3, and you've now got social and engagement elements that are being built into metaverse environments that are open. Does it kind of start to lead us down a path of immersive news environments and those sorts of things that could potentially start to form here under Elon Musk's leadership?
Yeah, John, I think you're onto it. Picking up where Bob left off, right? Musk is not an incrementalist. People forgot he didn't found Tesla. He acquired it. The average person thinks he founded the company. He went in early though, and boy, did he accelerate it and change it and reshape it into what it is today. And if you look at, what could happen here, he clearly has both feet firmly in Web 3.0. He's not, one of these people that you see a lot today that kind of has one foot in Web 2, still this overly centralized, structured, and then kind of trying to figure out Web 3. He's got both feet and is totally immersed in Web 3. So I think that opens doors, John, to your point that, many of us probably thought Twitter might not go through. Picking up again on something Bob said too, I think for many of us who were early adopters of Twitter, I still use it. It's a part of my daily consumption habit. I use it for distribution. I use it to bring in information. I don't use it as much as I used to, however, primarily because two things happened that really kind of destroyed the experience for me, or I shouldn't say destroyed, but degraded the experience for me. One is bots and the amount of bot traffic that's on the platform. But the second is anonymity, where it was very difficult if you got involved in a thread, whether you had ignited or you were just participating, who was who, and people spouting off all kinds of things, some of it inappropriate type of stuff. Musk has already come out and said he's going to go after those. Now let's see what happens with that, but I think it'll be really interesting. But I think the bigger point, John, is your real point about this interesting from to shift from Web 2 to Web 3. And man, I think that's really exciting. I couldn't begin to predict what he might do or the folks he might bring in, but man, it's not going to be boring. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to round robin us here, guys, and wrap this thing up on your number one prediction for what's going to happen over the next 3 months. I say 90 days to 6 months. As Scott was mentioning, this stuff gets brought back internally to be a private company without some of that stress of shareholder, and starts to move into public shareholder, I should say, and starts to move into a future frame for this business. Bob, you want to kick us off, and then we'll round robin this?
John, I don't know what the numbers are, but for total participants or whatever you call it on Twitter, users, but I think the number is going to plummet very quickly because it's going to, I think as Tony's saying, he's going to come in and clear out a lot of the bots. So I think some numbers will be like, oh wait, Musk is coming in and cutting. I don't think it's going to be any of that. We'll get down to maybe a true number of real carbon-based human beings who are using it. It'll be very interesting. And again, I think he will do some stuff that nobody's going to expect. And a lot of it, John, I think would go in the direction you suggested of trim it down to real people and make an aggressive move into the metaversial experience thing.
Scotty, how about you?
200 million users approximately, allegedly, is the number, Bob, using Twitter lookup there real time. So that's kind of interesting. And they tout, I was looking earlier today when the news came of who they tout as their influencers, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And to me, Musk has already played his cards, you guys. He wouldn't do this move without going to a community of specific users he wants to get the free speech on the table. So I think the next 90 days won't be about necessarily business models and those kinds of things. I'm sure those discussions will happen, but I think he's going to get his inner circle of posse of the right kind of people pulled together, and the community of users that will kind of, the free speech, Tony, I think you said it's a little bit of a head fake. I agree with you, but I do think the community of users and how he sets that table will give us a lot of signals of where this may go. I just think this is like juicy soap opera. I'm back on Twitter, just for the record. I literally have not really paid attention. Occasionally I'll get a feed or someone I know will mention or something, but I fell off about the last 3 years. So that he's got me listening.
Tony.
Hey, John, I think, first off, let's take Bob's point. There's analysts who suggest that 50% of internet traffic today is fraudulent anyways. Let's take that 200 million and cut it in half. That would still be more subscribers for any other form of media. It makes cable television look like a joke, even the biggest, weeks, months, years you see on cable television. So I think Bob's onto it. I think he'll take the the lumps for cleaning things up. My prediction is he's going to experiment with subscriptions, tiered subscriptions for the distribution side of what Twitter is, not for the user reader side of. So I'll give you an example. If you look at Kim Kardashian, I don't know how many Twitter followers she has. I think somebody quoted a number like literally like 80 to 100 million Twitter followers. She uses that as and she should, as a promotional vehicle. She doesn't pay Twitter anything for that. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Musk experiment. If you wanted to go out and get 80 million impressions in paid digital media, you'd pay good money for that. So again, I have no, legitimate knowledge about that other than just sort of meandering around the model a little bit. But it wouldn't surprise me that he experiments with stuff like that, because I don't think he's afraid of pissing off people by any stretch of the imagination, whether they be famous people or not famous people, whether they be government officials or non-government officials, clearly. So, and I echo Scott, man, get the popcorn going, pull up a chair. This is gonna be a blast to watch, I gotta say.
Hey, John, let me ask, I'd love to hear your take on that. And from Tony, what you said about going after famous, there was something he did, I think within the last few days, directly about Bill Gates. If you haven't seen it, that one's worth the price of admission. But John, what's your prediction?
So I think these next 90 days are going to be interestingly taking a look at the revenue models that are actually being built around Twitter, and what are the short-term and what are the long-term revenue plays that Musk is going to be able to take advantage of. I've got a laundry list of them that I've already been putting on a whiteboard, right? That kind of play into some of what Tony was just talking about, but also start to take a look at private subscription models, education platform, right? There's a whole bunch of different things that you can start to imagine here. And when you start to align this, and this probably isn't 90 days, this is probably more like a 12-month kind of a thing. But when you do start to align this, not with Meta, the company, but with the metaverse as open platforms, decentralized platforms of knowledge sharing and those sorts of things, I could start to imagine some really interesting API opportunities within major Decentraland type of environments and that kind of thing. So hey, we're going to be keeping an eye on this thing a lot, I think, guys, right? Based on the popcorn we're going to be snacking on while we watch the soap opera here. It's going to put, the Luke and Laura wedding to shame, or Who Shot JR to shame. I am dating myself aggressively with those two. But listen, Scott, Bob, and Tony, thanks for joining this real quick lightning strike to chat through our growth swarm around Elon Musk and Twitter. Tune in next time, guys. We're going to be talking through data and the CXO, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.